It's time for the semifinals of Civics Bowl 2024. We started with 10 area high school teams competing for the chance to bring home the trophy and bragging rights for Civics Bowl 2024.
Civics Bowl is made possible by Eastern Washington University, the Avista Foundation, the League of Women Voters of the Spokane area and of Washington, and by viewers like you.
Hello, I'm your host and President and General Manager of KSPS, Gary Stokes. Ahead tonight, 4 rounds of tough questions and a chance for you to see if you can compete with these students. Here's a look at the bracket. Tonight, Ridgeline versus Ferris as we move closer to the championship round. Let's meet the Ridgeline players.
Hi, I'm Paige.
I'm Xander.
I'm Parker.
I'm Jeshen.
As well as their coaches, Brittany Bergman and Suzanne Smith. And now, the Ferris team.
Hi, I'm Madeline. Hi, I'm Emily.
Hi, I'm Jake.
Hi, I'm Miles.
And in the audience, we have Ferris alternate Anakith Partapalli, as well as coach Mara Bischoff. Up first, the toss-up round. We provided teams with rules, and there's a copy for those watching at home online at KSPS. In a nutshell, I'll ask a toss-up question to all players. Only after I finish can a student buzz in with an answer. The right answer means the winning team gets a bonus question. You're encouraged to collaborate with your teammates only on the bonus questions. Teams, are you ready? Here we go. What is the first step when a new law is proposed in the Washington State Legislature? Jeshen.
It must be approved by the House and Senate.
That is incorrect. Emily.
It must be approved by committee.
That is correct. And here's your bonus. When the Washington State Legislature changes a bill, this change process is called what?
Amendment.
That is correct. Toss-up, both teams. This is a multiple choice question. In 2022, money from the federal government made up what percentage of Washington State's budget? A, 5%, B, 16%, C, 25%, or D, 2%? Paige.
B, 16%.
That is correct. And here's your bonus. What government program does the federal government pay half the cost and the state government pays half the cost?
Medicaid.
That is incorrect. Medicare. Toss up, both teams. Just as the number of terms the U.S. president can serve is limited by law, many states also limit the number of terms a governor can serve. Does Washington State limit the number of terms the governor can serve?
Yes.
That is incorrect. No. True or false, the Washington State Constitution made legislators' jobs part-time? Xander.
True.
That is correct, and here's your bonus. How many legislative districts does Washington State have?
39.
49. Toss up, both teams. True or false, tribal governments are all alike? Xander.
False.
That is correct, and here's your bonus. Describe why all tribal governments are not alike.
Each tribal government is sovereign and can make decisions regarding its structure itself.
That is correct. Both teams, toss up. What are unincorporated areas? Parker.
Areas where there's no city government, just the county government.
That is correct, and here's your bonus. Give an example of a service that the county would give to an unincorporated area.
Fire protection.
That is incorrect. County sheriff's deputies patrol the roads and respond to crimes committed in unincorporated areas. Here's your toss-up. Counties usually have 3 elected commissioners. How many commissioners does Spokane County have? Jake.
5.
That is correct, and here's your bonus. Give the titles of 5 elected positions in Spokane County.
Auditor, clerk, treasurer, I'm out.
Assessor, auditor, clerk, district court judges, prosecutor, sheriff, superior court judges, and county treasurer. And here's your toss-up. If you look at the monitors, you'll see a picture of 18th century economist Adam Smith. He developed 4 principles of what he called a sound tax system. Tell us 2 of them. Paige.
Low taxes and progressive taxes.
That is incorrect. Emily?
Progressive taxes and the ability of the House of Representatives to store taxes.
That is also incorrect. Equality, certainty, and convenience and economy. Here's your toss-up. According to the Constitution, what is the earliest day a new congressional term can begin? Emily?
January 5th.
That is incorrect. Joshua?
October 20th.
Also incorrect, January 3rd of odd-numbered years, and we have wrapped up that category. Well done, everybody. Woohoo! We'll be back in a moment to get to know the players and play that head-to-head round.
Last week, we showed you this cottage in Iowa and asked if you knew which president grew up there and accidentally set fire to his father's farm. The answer is Herbert Hoover, the 31st president. You can visit the home at the Herbert Hoover National Historic Site in West Branch, Iowa.
Now we'd like to take a moment to get to know our players and their schools a little better. We've asked each school to produce a video for Civics Bowl. Here's Ridgeline's.
We are Ridgeline High School here in Liberty Lake, Washington, home of the Falcons.
Here at Ridgeline, we help every student grow big, belong, inspire, and grow.
Our Falcons soar high, achieving excellence across academics, arts, and athletics. These trophies aren't just medal and ribbon, they're a testament to our relentless spirit and dedication.
Here at Ridgeline, it's not just about the academics or the athletics. It's about the community we build, the friendships we make, and the leaders that we become.
Talents up, kick off!
Well done, Team Ridgeline. And let's see, tell us your class year and a hot button topic you would like to help solve, starting with Paige.
I'm a senior, and I would like to solve climate change.
I'm a senior, and I would also like to solve climate change.
I'm a senior, and I'm really interested in helping solving the national debt crisis.
I'm a senior, and I would like to change the taxation system.
Thank you very much. And here's an inside peek now at Ferris. Let's meet the Ferris players.
Welcome to the Spokane South Hill, where Joel E. Ferris High School has been educating students for more than 60 years. Our sports teams excel in their scarlet and silver and train in facilities like these.
When the Saxons win, we ring the victory bell.
Not only is Ferris home to an amazing foreign language department, but we have the District Newcomer Center, meaning we are the English language development hub for the district. Ferris is known for its Performing Arts Department, which has won awards on the city, state, and national level.
Ferris has many science classes for students with many interests.
In Ferris, we believe in our school motto.
I belong, you belong.
We belong. Go Ferris Civics!
You know, those never really get old. I could watch those all day and be just fine. Okay, Madeline, same thing. We're going to ask you, what's your class year and what's your hot button topic that you want to solve?
I'm a senior this year, and I would like to see representation for all groups in governments on a local and countrywide level.
Emily?
I'm a senior, and I'd like to see global access to education.
Jake?
I'm a senior, and I like to solve climate change.
And Miles?
I'm a senior, and I'd really like to solve access to affordable health care.
Excellent. Thank you all. Thank all of you for being here today and being this far in Civics Bowl. We're going to get back to the match with the head-to-head round coming up next. But first, a thank you to the Spokane branch of the League of Women Voters. Their volunteers prepared hundreds of questions for this competition, and we couldn't do this without them. Thank you for your hard work, and we're going to see you right after this. It's time for the head-to-head round. Again, we've got the rules online so you can follow along. Here's a quick look at them. You still need to wait until I finish asking the question before you buzz in. Each right answer is worth 10 points, and players cannot work together to find the answer. Are you ready? Let's go. In 1787, George Washington signed a letter that was sent to Congress along with 4 pages of a historic document on display at the National Archives. What is the name of the letter Washington signed?
The farewell address.
That is incorrect.
The Olive Branch Treaty.
Letter of transmittal. Letter of transmittal. Though no longer commonly practiced, a government can issue what to grant a private person authority to seize the subjects of foreign state or their goods?
Privateer license?
Incorrect.
You can take it thing?
Letter of marque. Letter of marque. Next. How often does Washington redraw its legislative and congressional districts?
Every 2 years?
Incorrect.
Every 4 years?
Incorrect. Once every 10 years. The Supreme Court ruled in U.S. v. Wong Kim Ark in 1898 that the U.S. government cannot deny citizenship to whom?
African Americans.
Incorrect.
Asian Americans?
Anyone born in the United States. Next. Who is the only U.S. president to serve a full term without making a nomination to the U.S. Supreme Court?
Truman.
Incorrect. He's locked in.
FDR.
Jimmy Carter. Jimmy Carter. The naturalization process includes an oral civics test. How many of the 100 possible questions about U.S. government and history is the applicant asked?
10.
That is correct. How many questions on the oral civics test must the applicant answer correctly to pass that portion of the naturalization testing?
6.
That's correct. What is the name of the elected position in Washington state whose responsibility is to make sure that everyone in state and local government follows the rules for how the public's tax dollars are spent?
State auditor.
That is correct. The Virginia plan proposed that representation within both chambers of Congress should be based on each state's population. What impact would this have?
Larger states would have more power than the smaller states.
That is correct. How did the New Jersey plan differ from the Virginia plan?
Every state would get equal representation so that smaller states would be just as represented in Congress.
That is correct. Name the solution laid out in the U.S. Constitution that addressed the big state, little state debate by incorporating aspects of both plans with a bicameral Congress.
House and Senate?
Incorrect.
New Jersey plan?
The Great Compromise or the Connecticut Compromise. And here's your last question. What was the constitutional compromise reached on how slaves should be counted as part of a state's population in order to determine that state's representation?
The 3/5 compromise?
That is correct. And we are done. Nice job, folks. Don't go anywhere. Up next, these students will face off in the category round.
Here's important news for high school seniors. We all know the legal age to vote is 18. But in Washington state, 17-year-olds can vote in the August primary as long as they'll turn 18 before the November general election. High school seniors, that means if you're 18 or will turn 18 before the November election, it's time to register to vote. Only registered voters receive a ballot. To learn more, visit votewa.gov.
Welcome back. In just a few minutes, we'll have a chance for folks at home to answer a civics question to see how you stack up against the best in the Inland Northwest. But before that, it's time for the category round. In this round, teams will answer questions from the following categories: grab some popcorn, the nation's highest court, tax time, electoral college, and it happened here. Teams will alternate choosing a category, but you can't jump ahead from a 10-point question to one of higher value. And this time, points will be deducted for wrong answers. Again, these rules are online, and the student teams received them last fall. They can decline to answer a question, and that's a way to make sure you don't lose points, and it forces the other team to answer. And you can toss the question to the other team. They have to answer, but a team can only toss 3 times. Here's a quick check of the score. Okay, teams, let's go. Ferris, to start.
We'll start with grab some popcorn for 10, please.
For 10 points, name the film Meryl Streep as President of the United States who seems indifferent about a comet on a collision course with Earth.
Don't Look Up.
That is correct. Ridgeline.
We'll take the nation's highest court.
Nation's highest court for 10. Our next question is from Gonzaga Assistant Professor Sarah James.
How many times has Congress officially changed the total number of justices on the Supreme Court?
Need an answer?
Once.
7. Ferris.
Grab some popcorn for 15, please.
What is the title of the historical drama starring Daniel Day-Lewis as our 16th president?
Lincoln.
That is correct. Ridgeline.
We're going to do grab some popcorn for 20.
All the President's Men tells the story of how reporters at what newspaper broke the story about Watergate, leading to the resignation of President Richard Nixon?
The Washington Post.
That is correct. Ferris.
Grab some popcorn for 25, please.
25 it is. The film Malcolm X follows the story of the iconic civil rights leader from his youth through his rise as an activist and his eventual assassination. Who played Malcolm X in the film?
Decline.
Decline it is. Denzel Washington. Ridgeline.
Do grab some popcorn for 30.
And wrapping up the category, when a corrupt senator dies, he's replaced by honest and naive Jefferson Smith, who discovers the corruption in Washington for himself and tries to fight it. What is the title of this 1939 quintessential film about American politics?
Mr. Smith Goes to Washington.
That is correct. Ferris.
Nation's highest court for 15, please.
What is the highest number of justices that have sat on the Supreme Court during a single term?
Nine.
That is incorrect. 10. Ridgeline.
We're going to do Electoral College for 10.
Who is prohibited by Article 2, Section 1 of the Constitution from being appointed a member of the Electoral College?
We're going to go ahead and toss that.
Toss to Ferris.
A member of Congress.
That is correct. And Ferris, go ahead.
We'll do nation's highest court for 20, please.
Sarah James has a follow-up question worth 20 points.
Supreme Court historians often talk about the eras of the court based on the Chief Justice in place. How many different eras or Chief Justices has the Supreme Court had since its creation in 1789?
Toss.
Toss to Ridgeline.
$17.
That is correct. Ridgeline.
Let's go ahead and do Electoral College for 15.
Electoral College for 15. How many votes does Washington State get in the Electoral College?
10.
Incorrect. 12. Ferris.
We'll do Electoral College for 20.
According to Article 2, Section 1 of the Constitution, if the Electoral College ties in voting for who should be elected president, what body votes to choose one of the candidates for president?
The House.
That is correct. Ridgeline.
Do the nation's highest court for 25.
What was the rule underlying the U.S. Supreme Court's 1964 decision in Westbury v. Sanders, saying the Constitution demands congressional districts with populations that are roughly equal in size?
We're going to go ahead and toss that.
One person, one vote.
That is correct. And Ferris, you're up.
We'll do nation's highest court for 30, please.
And wrapping up that category, which Supreme Court justice wrote the majority opinion in the Citizens United versus FEC case?
Decline.
Decline it is. Justice Anthony Kennedy. Ridgeline.
Do electoral for 25, please.
Electoral for 25. In the case of a tie in the Electoral College, each state in the U.S. House gets one vote to decide on a winning candidate. With 50 votes cast, one from each state, how many votes are necessary to select a winner?
26.
That is correct. Ferris.
We'll do Electoral College for 30, please.
Wrapping up the category, what is the first step that must be taken to protest electoral votes when Congress meets to count the votes in January?
A formal petition submitted by a member of Congress.
That is correct. Ridgeline.
We'll do tax time for 10, please.
John Quincy Adams signed the Tariff of 1828 and immediately felt the political fallout. Why?
It did not help the economy or end the recession.
That is incorrect. The major goal of the tariff was to protect factories by taxing imports from Europe, but Southerners in the Cotton Belt felt unfairly hurt their business. And that wraps up this category. So, only one round remains. Lightning round coming up next.
Here's your chance to match wits with the best and brightest. The Constitutional Convention is often called the 100-day debate. The original states appointed 70 delegates. How many of these delegates failed to attend a single meeting? Do you know the answer? Scan this QR code or head to ksps.org/Civics Bowl to submit your answer. You'll be entered in a drawing to win a prize. The deadline to enter is Monday at noon. We'll notify the winner and give the right answer next week on Civics Bowl.
We're just one round away from learning who will be next to advance in the Civics Bowl tournament this season. In the lightning round, we'll put 90 seconds on the clock. The idea is to answer as many of these 20-point questions as you can in that time. No conferring, and get ready to go. Ready? Let's go. True or false, the job of Washington Public Lands Commissioner does not entail managing firefighting efforts for the state's 6 million acres of public lands. Parker.
False.
That is correct. True or false, the Supreme Court has no involvement in foreign diplomacy. Paige.
False.
That is correct. Are children born to foreign immigrants residing in the U.S. automatically citizens of the United States? Parker.
Yes.
That is correct. True or false? According to Article 4, Section 4 of the U.S. Constitution, no state may be formed by the junction of two or more states or parts of states without the consent of the legislatures of the states concerned as well as Congress.
True.
Correct. What document laid out at the time of the American independence from Great Britain in 1777 established the new government? Emily.
Articles of Confederation.
Correct. Which two states did not participate in George Washington's election as the first president of the United States because they had not ratified the Constitution? North Carolina and Rhode Island. How many justices serve on Washington State's Supreme Court? Jake.
None.
That is correct. Federalist Paper number 47, written by James Madison, argues that the separation of powers is not meant to be absolute, but is an effective system of what? Checks and balances. What is it called when an American citizen, whether native born or naturalized, voluntarily renounces his or her citizenship? Paige.
Denaturalization.
Expatriation. And that is the wrap up. Nicely done, folks. Oh my goodness, that's close. 200 to 195 Ridgeline. Congratulations. And that means that Ridgeline will advance in tournament play for the finals. Congratulations, all of you. This has been so much fun to watch and be part of. And we look forward to seeing you next week. Well done.
The Civics Bowl is made possible by Eastern Washington University, the Avista Foundation, the League of Women Voters of the Spokane area and of Washington, and by viewers like you. If you're a regional school interested in taking part in Civics Bowl next year, we want to know. Go to ksps.org/civicsbowl to fill out our online contact form.